Hello, and welcome to Marking Out with My Girlfriend.
This is my girlfriend, Erin.
This is my girlfriend, Kat.
And I don't have a clever intro this week. I'm sure I could come up with something. Hold on, give me like a minute.
Okay. Could just do a Maki and say, "We're here, motherfuckers."
What's Maki Itoh's thing that she says? Oh my god, who's the cutest wrestler? And then the crowd shouts back, Itoh-chan. It's very cute.
Is that what they're all saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I don't speak Japanese at all, so it all just kind of goes over my head.
My favorite... Sorry, we're not going to get into the Maki Itoh talk yet. Thank you for stopping by and dropping by with the follow. It was a pleasure to have you on that Everyone is Matt Hardy episode. I can't wait till it gets public so everyone can hear it. But for now, it's available on patreon.com/Soses Media. All it takes is $2. Erin, we've got a lot to talk about.
We also have a list of things to get to.
Yes, we do. So let's do them in order.
We did this properly this time, like real podcasters.
So, first things first. What the fuck?
What the fuck?
What the fuck? Is this allowed? Is that allowed?
It has to be allowed. It's got to be at this point. Otherwise, a lot of people are in a lot of trouble.
So, where do we want to start with this?
You know what? Let's go with last Friday night.
Last Friday night,
there was a ex-lovers spat over Twitter.
That's right. The Golden Lovers engaged in messy gay Twitter drama.
With Michael Nakazawa translating what they said. Yep.
It was messy. It was. It's the epitome of drama gays.
Yeah. They're just pulling everyone into it with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the summary of the whole thing was basically Kota Ibushi saying, "I don't want to put up with you like this."
Yeah.
In a lot more words and a lot more references to being a god, Kota's just done with this shit.
And
Kenny acting like he doesn't care. We know they're both lying. So.
Of course, they're both lying. There's a lot going on.
So yeah, that happened throughout Friday night. I think Kota got the last bar ban on Tuesday this week.
Tuesday or Wednesday?
I can't remember.
Either way, they keep referring to each other as kings and their various promotions as their kingdoms, and it's like...
Yep.
Very, very, very fake court drama.
Yep. No, they're definitely hamming it up. They're trying to impress each other.
Michael Nakazawa is translating Kenny and Kota's love letters to each other, but this time for the audience instead of for each other, because Kenny responds fae, as in like fairies.
Yeah.
The thing that Nakazawa pointed this out too. He woke up, read it, and replied to it in Japanese.
Yep.
But he replied to Nak's translation.
Yep.
It's so messy.
It's so much. And that wasn't all that happened on Friday, actually. Because last Friday we had...
the start of Fight Forever.
I wasn't going to get into that, but on New Japan Power was
That's
when
right.
Maki showed up. And,
that is true.
Made a formal accepting of Kenta's
challenge. Because he's got the briefcase.
So yeah, we have people showing up in places they shouldn't be. And then on Wednesday, we had the biggest surprise yet in Kenta showing up on AEW.
Kenta showed up on AEW and hit Moxley with the GTS.
In full Bullet Club gear.
Bullet Club, if you will.
I won't, but okay. Thank you, Icy, for reminding me. Yeah, there was a social media exclusive afterwards where Kenny goes up to him. He's like, "Oh yeah, Brother Switchblade didn't tell me anyone was showing up. Thanks for the help." And Kenta told him straight up to fuck off.
I'd like to point out that at no point in Bullet Club history have they referred to each other as brother.
Yeah.
That's not a Bullet Club thing. That's just a Kenny Omega cult thing.
Yeah. It's also a Matt Hardy thing.
Brother Nero, I knew you'd come.
So I'm just going to say this right now so I have a record of it in the future. If this turns out to be a broken Matt Hardy fever dream leaking into reality, I'm right, hire me, give me money.
Oh my god. How would that work though?
I don't care. That's not my job to figure that out. I got the ending.
Does the door get closed after that?
The forbidden door just closes.
Creak, slam, sit. Quote a genius comedian who's no longer with us. Yeah, it was wild. I mean, like, we haven't even gotten into the other fun parts of Dynamite from last week. Kip and Penelope had their wedding.
And they actually had their wedding.
Yes, they actually had their shoot wedding too, but
they like actually got to do their vows and everything before being interrupted. That never happens in wrestling weddings.
I know. It's almost like they're actually shoot married.
But okay, so for all of the shit, as I've dubbed it, going on, I did prepare a little essay. If I could get a couple minutes to read that.
Yes, you can.
Okay. The essay is titled, "What the Fuck?"
Aptly.
So, we are potentially sitting at the crux of like a revolution in pro wrestling, where up to 5 national companies are in some kind of working agreement with each other. AEW, New Japan Pro, Impact, NWA, at least as far as their women's title goes, and possibly Tokyo Joshi Pro, who is the sister company to DDT, which was the company where Kenny Omega got his name known.
Kenny, I believe, is still also the AAA champion.
Oh yeah, I've got that later on.
So technically, there's what, like 6 major do we count NWA as a major promotion?
When they come back, they
I don't know if it's a when so much as an if.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see on that, unfortunately.
Billy Corgan says he wants them to come back.
I want them to come back.
The landscape is always better for having more wrestling federations.
More and a wider variety of.
Yes. Because not everyone's going to book stuff the same.
We've got the Good Brothers on AEW. We've got Kenny going to Impact. Private Party are the #1 contenders for the Impact tag titles. Kenta's showing up on AEW. Just Bullet Club merch and signage everywhere. And the NWA Women's Champion being a staple on a nationally syndicated broadcast, as well as an international women's tournament for the #1 contendership of AEW's title. Women's title. And that's not even counting the storm of social media that's been happening since the Impact thing has started.
If I may interrupt for a moment, that's also not counting the fact that AEW is starting to do intergender matches.
Possibly, yeah.
It's Cody and Red Velvet versus Jade Cargill and Shaq.
Yeah, we'll have to see if they do it like an actual intergender match, or if it's more like the old WWE style where the men can only wrestle the men, and a tag for one side is a tag for both. It was very silly and overly complicated.
Yes. Well, let's hope that Cody gets it.
Hopefully. So, and then all of this is a direct result of Jon Moxley. Because Mox is the New Japan Pro Wrestling US champion and has a defense against Kenta that's been lined up and issued and reissued for a little while now. But because of 1, the pandemic, and 2, Mox's AEW contract doesn't let him work New Japan shows in the US. So you can't defend a title if you can't get to the country where you can defend it.
Right.
Which,
But this isn't a case where the match has been booked like it was for that time he got rained out.
yeah. So what you have through this is New Japan and AEW had to open up talks again.
Mm-hmm.
They had to work out a solution where Mox could show up on a US New Japan show, Power, and do something with Kenta, and for Kenta to get on AEW programming for this, which very much leaves it open to more New Japan people showing up in AEW.
Sorry, I do want to point out Mox's
Yep.
greatest fear. Because there's someone who he's lost to before in New Japan.
Yep. A lot of people don't want to admit it, but Mox has a loss in New Japan.
Mm-hmm.
At the hands of the sinister, the devious,
The deadly.
Toru Yano.
Yep, Toru Yano is Mox's greatest fear in this world.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick to interrupt, sorry, I'll let you finish after this. I really want to see Toru Yano versus Orange Cassidy in a first one to enter the ring loses match.
Yeah. That would be amazing. I would totally be on board with it. So the atmosphere here is, this is an event that for the past 30 years of watching wrestling, I couldn't fathom happening. Because for so long, any company that got up to a national level had their own motivations and privacy and paranoias where they would hold on to whatever they could. And with WWE buying out WCW and ECW in 2001 and completely fucking up that whole thing, it seemed like a place the wrestling world shouldn't be. It might be better if they were separate and didn't really interact, just so they could keep themselves going. And through this, WWE and their monopoly stagnated the wrestling world for those 20 years that it's been. They acquired more companies and hoarded talent, and it made sense because that was the only place you could be guaranteed a regular good paycheck. If you made it to WWE, you were set.
Right.
You hear this from a lot of guys in the aughts and the early 10s, where there was a lot of people in the back of a WWE show sitting and trying not to get noticed so they could just collect their paycheck and leave.
Right, because even at the bare minimum of the WWE pay scale, if you're not being asked to wrestle because you're just kind of hiding in the back and hoping they forget that you're under contract, you're getting $50,000 a year. Not a small chunk of change versus what you earn as an independent wrestler.
Yep.
Indie wrestling is not a well-paying business.
So yeah, if you were a talent, you would take that offer. If you were a promoter in that time, you were terrified of WWE buying up your regulars, or even worse, moving in and starving you out, which was the case in the UK when NXT moved over, and was very much scared for Japan when NXT was announced for over there as well. But in these last 10 years, the indie scene, in the US at least, has really seen a resurgence through the work of the Young Bucks, of Kenny Omega, Adam Cole, Chris Hero. Yeah.
Sorry. It's a verbal tick.
And there's been a landscape shift where wrestlers were able to build a more stable living working independently. Still not as good, but you might not starve in your car. And because of the Bucks, merchandise is a thing.
Yeah, no, indie wrestler merch is a huge part of how they make their money. And it's because it comes down to the Bucks being the pioneers of that merch empire.
Yeah, they were so smart with how they handled it, because if you saw them 1 month and then saw them 2 months later, they'd have different stuff for you to buy. It wouldn't just be the same shirts. And so we're at a time where it looks like the rest of the wrestling world is growing and communicating and working together, while the monopoly is off to the side.
Right. Losing out on opportunity after opportunity because there's a better alternative out there.
Yeah, Triple
Even though
H.
the last time we did have an episode, we talked about AEW fucking up and losing Priscilla Kelly.
Yeah, like they get some wins, but in the grand scheme, like even with Triple H coming out, what was it, a month ago when the Impact thing started and saying, "Oh yeah, we're willing to work with anyone," it's like you're too late. They've already been talking for a year,
Also,
maybe 6 months.
also, no, you're not. You're not even
No,
willing to let your talent work on their own. They're
no, you're not
independent
willing to do anything.
contractors who have no independence.
Yeah,
I don't understand how you can let go of an independent contractor, right? Let go of someone who you pay with a 1099, and then also hold them to a 90-day no-compete.
yeah, it makes no sense. It should be unenforceable. I'm not a lawyer or an accountant, so I don't have a professional opinion on that. So, yeah, like just looking at what we have going right now is Kenny throwing out a mention to Brother Switchblade with Kenta. We have Kenny holding a AAA title for quite a while now. Kenny has an open title shot in DDT for the KOD openweight title. Jay White and his attention grabbing performance after Wrestle Kingdom and his surprising comeback after the Rumble, where people thought he was going to show up. You have Kota Ibushi going out saying he's become God and wants to unify the IWGP Intercontinental and Heavyweight titles. And as fans, we are getting pulled in so many directions and doing so much theory crafting of our dream events that could potentially happen if this plays out in a way people like,
Mm-hmm.
in a way that is mutually beneficial. And
It's it's a situation where, not to interrupt you again, I apologize.
Okay.
It's a situation where the industry has realized that it is mutually beneficial for all of them to build hype across their companies. Wrestling, unless you've got shows that are right up against each other, NXT, is not something that has to be a zero-sum game. Wrestling can be something that builds on the brand, working with other brands to make a better product, diversifying both the style of wrestling you see, and also, not to be a capitalist about it, but you're diversifying the risk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not on one company to hold all of those people and hope that they can figure out what to do with them week in and week out. It's not all on one company to have infinite shows to put these people on. It's not all on one company to vet people. The only thing that I don't like that a lot of the framing around Impact has been AEW is going to buy Impact. AEW is going to buy NWA. Yeah. That thinking, throw it out. Roll it up in a ball, put it in the trash, because we don't need that kind of thinking anymore when there's a better way to do things, like how things used to be done with the territories, but on a national scale.
Yeah, like the Bucks are pretty much taking the indie mindset from the start of the 10s, where you were your character and you went around and you were that person, and people learned your history and what to expect. And you had rivalries on one side, rivalries on the other, rivalries in Germany. And they're just bringing that to a nationally syndicated level. That's all they're doing. And it's completely changing the world.
It's making wrestling into something that it hasn't been for decades.
Yeah. And
it's really honestly, cool.
AEW's been priming us for this since they started. They've never been afraid to talk about wrestlers' past and what achievements they have outside of AEW.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And to go back with what you're saying with the idea of buying up Impact and NWA, was like, no, we don't want AEW to buy up the companies because we just have the same problems before. We want them to invest in those companies for the betterment of everyone.
Right. And then you're not expecting one big multi-billion-dollar company to be the be-all end-all, the one route that you can go to.
Yep.
There shouldn't be two routes to success in professional wrestling. There shouldn't be that just should not be. When there's the option to have so many ways to be successful and still work with the people that you want to work with, but rip to Ring of Honor.
Yeah. We'll honestly have to see what happens with Ring of Honor. They are doing their bubble system right now to film their weekly, bi-weekly shows and their pay-per-views. And like, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you want to keep your people safe. You want to keep them healthy. ROH was the first one to shut down at the start of the pandemic. They were the last one to put any thought into coming back. I get it. Like, I hold nothing against ROH.
No, ROH should be praised for the way that they've taken care of their talent first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. I drank water weird. No, like the idea that like you can have a system where people are able to work truly as independent contractors.
Mm-hmm.
And like the indie mindset and how that indie mindset built success for people like the Bucks.
Yep.
People, I mean, like the indie mindset is clearly working for guys like Danhausen.
Danhausen is very much just recreating the Bucks strategy.
Mm-hmm. But like with a couple more catchphrases.
Yeah. He's much funnier about it. He's not Christian AF.
No, he's Satanic AF. I'm gonna tweet at Danhausen to make a shirt for that.
Satanic AF.
Colt Cabana obviously was also part of that like Young Bucks.
Colt Cabana was the first wrestling podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We are here directly because of Colt Cabana.
Like there's a lot that the wrestling world would not have without all of these really impressive pioneers who are now literally taking what the business was, bringing it out back, and killing it.
We're going old Yeller.
And then chucking it in a fucking dumpster because nobody needs that shit.
No. It's an outdated model. It doesn't actually help anyone.
An outdated... It did... that's not true. It helps exactly one person.
Does it? Or does he just not realize it's failing?
It has helped him make multiple billions of dollars.
Okay, that's fair.
It works when your only concern is enriching yourself.
That's why I don't like WWE.
But like
I'm too communist.
Yes. That's the like again when the time comes for the class war and we have to parody Tony Khan, I'll feel a little bit bad about it because at least the impression I get is that Tony Khan's primary goal with AEW, hey Erica, Tony Khan's primary goal is make good wrestling. It's not to like win at any sort of war. That's why they're, Jericho is the demo god, but Tony Khan doesn't talk about ratings versus NXT. It's not his goal. His goal is to put on a good wrestling show because that's what he likes to watch. There's a reason that the guys respect him a lot.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing on this television level. He's a good brain to have behind the wrestling creativity that they have in the rest of the company.
Absolutely. Like, very much someone who is backing up the skills of the people he's hired.
Yeah, like Aizu said, he's a super fan and has been booking since he knew it was a thing. Yeah. It is a kind of a weird switch when you're a younger wrestling fan to go, wait, this is all fake. There is a guy in the back that tells him you do this and you do this and it goes like that. And you kind of want to do that because it's fun.
Yeah, it sounds real cool.
I would be terrified to book an actual show because I have no idea what I'm doing. But but you would know I'm gleeful as hell doing it.
Yeah, no, it's fucking really good. It's so nice to see that change.
Yeah. It's a huge attitude shift from
An attitude adjustment.
No. It's such a huge attitude shift from the 80s to a couple years ago that is just so refreshing as a fan to see.
Absolutely. Like,
yeah, I think that's our rant on the globalization of wrestling.
It's for sure a very, very good change to have. I will absolutely never complain about something like that. Because that's just the amount of good that does for wrestling. It's so excited just to see what could possibly come next.
But yeah, this whole landscape is completely unpredictable. Like, I saw Mox and Kenta on New Japan Power, or at least the clips of it. It's like, I couldn't tell you Kenta was going to show up this week. I couldn't tell you who's going to tell another Bullet Club member to fuck off. Just so weird, and I love it.
Yeah, it's weird, but it's good.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I have no clue what to expect next Wednesday. Heck, next Tuesday. I don't know what to expect tomorrow. I could wake up and there be a whole other Twitter storm between Coda and Kenny.
Yeah, there could be.
And I'm super excited about it. Okay. Should we get away from the shit, as I've dubbed it?
Yeah, we could do that.
So last weekend was another actual wrestling event that I couldn't have predicted seeing a few years ago.
Yeah, that was last week was stacked. I've got a headache just thinking about it. I've also had a headache all day.
Yes, you have.
But like that show was something else.
So yeah, GCW put on a show called Fight Forever that ran for 24 mostly consecutive hours. There was a couple hiccups, but like we were really excited for the collective last year because that was a big collection of a bunch of different companies. So that it was that with more.
It was that, but consecutive.
Yep, it was a very epic event, yeah. And so I don't know how you wanted to go through this. I've got like my top 5 matches that I saw because I didn't watch all 24 hours.
Neither did I.
Wasn't going to make it.
Tried to watch as much as I could, but I was too tired. Okay, so let's go through. I didn't take notes, and I forgot because I was busy this week with doing hot girl shit to write down my 5 favorite matches. And by hot girl shit, I mean that live stream on Tuesday. Because that consumed all of my attention for most of the week, because I was very nervous.
And you killed it.
I know I did.
Okay, so...
Even God can be nervous.
So, in no particular, I've got Oreo Speedwagon versus The End from Effie's Big Gay Block, where Oreo Speedwagon got destroyed by Pero and Odinson.
In a very... But, like, they got destroyed in a really good way. Like, a way that made them look good in getting destroyed.
Yeah,
which is difficult to do.
It was framed like a squash match. They didn't get a whole lot of offense, but they never really stopped trying, which is awesome to see. It's one of the reasons Oreo Speedwagon is one of my favorite tag teams.
It's just like, it was a fun match to watch. The whole Big Gay Block was very good too. Like,
oh yeah,
let's not undersell that. Like, there were a lot of very good matches.
Well, another one from before that block was the Camp Leapfrog Cybernetico.
The Camp Leapfrog Cybernetico is probably my favorite match from that whole weekend.
I can see it, yeah. It's definitely right up there. It's either that or Alley Cat and Willow Nightingale.
Alley Cat and Willow Nightingale during the hot girl shit block was also very good.
Yeah.
But there's something about getting to watch a Cybernetico match because they're so rarely done.
And one's so big. Like, this was 9-on-9.
The amount of, like, what the fuck moments that I had during that Cybernetico.
Like Abby J getting 2 eliminations. Still Life jumping off the balcony. Well, being bulldogged off the balcony.
Still Life getting bulldogged off the balcony. Like, she took some bumps. That's another thing we need to talk about. Still Life had new ring gear.
It looks amazing.
And so does she.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
And the other big one, before you keep going about Still Life, was a very good professional wrestler being pinned.
Mm-hmm.
By Boomer.
Mm-hmm. A second time.
Yeah.
It's like Kaylee versus Shroud.
That is such a narrow-casted reference.
So, for those of you who listen and don't know our friend Kaylee, she streams at twitch.tv/OKOHKAY. You can also find her stream by going to OKOHKAY.boomer. She owns the website ok.boomer. So, Kaylee used to play, and still does, play a lot of PUBG. Kaylee, much like Boomer versus Dasher, is 2-0 against Shroud. She has killed Shroud twice and never been killed by Shroud. Boomer has pinned a very good professional wrestler twice.
Well, he's pinned him once and submitted him once.
Defeated him then.
Yeah.
Either way, yeah, good for Boomer.
we have to let Kaylee know she got a shout out now. So the next match that I want to bring up has Still Life in it again against MV Young and Ace Perry back on Effie's Big Gay block.
Oh my god, that was such a good match.
Yep. MV Young was kind of a dick through the thing, breaking up a lot of pins and submission holds and just, not letting people have fun, really.
Look, when you are the Pollyann King, no one else is allowed to win.
I mean, that's fair, because he did win. And then I have mentioned Alley Cat and Willow Nightingales, which was great, because it looked like Willow got a neck injury and Alley Cat got knocked out at some point.
They went hard.
Oh, yeah. This is a long match, and it's a brutal one.
And Alley Cat gave, a little speech afterwards.
Where she sounded drunk.
Because I think she just took a bump to the head and definitely was a little woozy. Yeah, no. Because I'm doing this with some guy's money. Ah! It's a sight to behold.
And the last one I have on here is The Rep versus Thick and Juicy from For the Culture.
That was also very good.
Yeah, unfortunately, For the Culture got their beginning half cut off by the power being off in the facility.
Which sucked.
But we made it back for a couple matches. They're worth going back on. Go find them on YouTube. They're amazing.
The whole weekend was worth watching.
Yes, and a special shout out to sleep-deprived Effie's promo before his match.
So yeah, it was just all around a good weekend for wrestling. So we got to show some people what hardcore matches look like with all those light tubes.
Oh god.
I forget who had the match, but there were a lot of light tubes that got used.
Yeah, no, it was on after For the Culture.
Yes, this was at midnight.
This was the third show on the roster. Yeah, no. So, okay, we've been over this. I don't like hardcore matches. I don't have the stomach for them. But when they just start grabbing light tubes and going bop, I break out laughing.
It's very funny. It's just
this is the silliest thing I've ever seen.
Bonk, bonk, bonk.
I watch wrestling, and prefer when it has ghosts and zombies and magical growth and stuff. And two guys just going bop. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
It's so fucking funny.
So yeah, special shout out to that. Oh gosh.
It was a good 24 hours, and like I don't regret losing sleep for it.
No, it was definitely worth it. I should go back and check some of the events that were overnight just to see what was missed there, but I just haven't had time yet because I have a day job.
Who has a shoot job in this economy?
Me and you, and not a whole lot of other people.
A lot of people. A lot of professional wrestlers have had to take shoot jobs because of it. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, we were just talking about the effects of a better wrestling environment, especially for the independent market.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, it was a lot of really good wrestling. During the Hot Girl Shit block, Molly McCoy had a match. That was a lot of fun, too.
Oh, Molly McCoy and Lady Frost, yep.
Yeah, like, getting to see Molly McCoy versus Lady Frost was good.
Yep.
I did also Photoshop a picture of Molly McCoy earlier this week.
Yep, there was a picture taken of her coming up the turnbuckle, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So you photoshopped all of the background out. And now it's Molly McCoy's preferred promo picture.
Oh, that's not the picture that's not the picture I meant to talk about. The one that I photoshopped is this one.
Oh yeah.
So during when Nymph get a hat trick,
who I'm missing right now, actually.
Gritty comes out.
I made for this podcast.
Gritty comes out and he throws a big ass hat, and that's the best Philly that you'll get out of me. The Gritty throws a giant hat onto the ice. That doesn't just sound like Tina. Tina has a completely different vowel shift. The Philly vowel shift is. Oh, I can hear it.
It's also the voice you do for Greg.
Mm-hmm.
From A Night in the Woods.
Pittsburgh sounds nothing like Philly.
No. Even I know that, and I just started.
Anyway.
So yes, we had fun with that. Like, honestly, that whole block of Saturday morning is definitely worth going back and watching.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm definitely going to recommend the Cibernetico out of everything else.
I agree. So,
yeah, I've got my recommendations for this show this week because I don't have anything else to fill in this time like I did last time. But because February is Black History Month, I wanted to throw out some notable matches of Black wrestlers. So I'm going to throw out two for each episode this month because we only do two. But the first one you'll find is Vader versus Ron Simmons for the WCW title, which is a match that wasn't supposed to begin originally. It was originally going to be Sting in there, like normal for WCW around this time. They just threw Sting into everything. But he wasn't able to, so they put Ron Simmons in, who may be better known as WWE's Farouk. And to see him get that opportunity and become like the first Black world champion was absolutely mind-blowing, even back in, what was this, 91, 92, I believe it was. So yeah, I'm going to throw that out. And
damn,
I'm also going to throw in Trish Adora and Big Swole for a more modern one. That's not the one I meant to put in, actually. That's just the next to my list. So I'll throw it in anyway. So yeah, this is Trish Adora and Big Swole, a much more modern match of a current AEW wrestler and the Pan-African champion. There's a lot to that title name, and I can't remember it, and I'm actually really sorry. See if I can find the other one. I'm actually going to throw in a really old one. This is one I originally planned to. This is Bobo Brazil and Ric Flair from 1977. It is a match where Ric Flair is still rather new. So you actually see Bobo Brazil being the veteran in this and just throwing him around and doing whatever he wants. it's a really neat contrast, I find, to the Ric Flair we usually know now, who is the veteran, and also one of like the first African American wrestlers to gain real notoriety on more than just a territorial scale. So yeah, that's my accidentally 3 recommendations this week.
Why don't we head over to the mid-roll and find out? Mid-roll, mid-roll. Everybody's talking about the mid-roll, mid-roll, mid-roll. It is really gay. Listen up, nerds. Marking Out with My Girlfriend, the best wrestling and/or tangent podcast on the internet, has a new affiliate.
That's right. We're now affiliated with Independent Wrestling TV.
And let me tell you, we clawed our way up to this deal and we earned it with blood, sweat, and tears. And guess what? They are stuck with us.
If you visit iwtv.live/go/Soses Media and enter code Soses Media, you get 5 days of all the best independent wrestling for free. After that, it's only $10 a month to watch live events and the entire back catalog.
By using our promo code Soses Media, you get all that free trial to watch our favorites, like GCW, ICW No Holds Barred, and H2O.
Or something non-hardcore, like Beyond, Pure J, and Black Label Pro.
Now go watch some wrestling, dweeb, because we're not going anywhere until you do. So anyway, now that we've gotten Aaron's recommendations out of the way.
Early.
Yeah, I know, right? We're gonna circle back to talking about Maki Itoh. So Maki Itoh's character is finally crafted over years of kind of her failing in a lot of ways. Like, it's interesting because a lot of what has motivated her success is past failure. So, Maki Itoh originally was an idol. Idols are a thing in Japan where cute girls join bands as long as they can sing kinda okay and can dance. And people are obsessed with them because they are cute girls. Yes, Aaron?
Is it kind of like a boy band in that way?
A little bit, yes.
Okay.
Idol culture is very it's a lot more produced than a boy band, and like there's different kinds of idols too, right? So like there's musical, I mean, like most idols are going to sing, but there's like virtual idols that you see. VTubers are a perfect example of idol culture in Japan. So if you like watch people like Korone or Okayu or Pekura, I watch a lot of VTubers. That's idol culture, but with virtual characters rather than human people. They all do, like, you know, they all have very specific kinds of like hooks to them, Peko, and do like various different things that they have, you know, talent for. Wrestling idols are a thing. Wrestling idols are a thing. Video game idols are a thing. It's a whole thing. Now, there's some weird parts of idol culture that they don't talk about when people talk about how much idols are like a big deal in Japan, and a little bit more of a big deal in the US and Western audiences slowly. Idols are not allowed to date. Like, if you are in an idol group, you cannot have a partner.
Okay.
Because it sells the fantasy of being accessible to the fans. That dream that maybe one day I could date Itoh-chan.
Oh, it's like the barbershop quartet from The Simpsons.
I don't remember that episode.
They tell Homer to play down his marriage so the Swedish girls will think he's available.
Gotcha. So, like, yeah, no, it's a very weird thing. Idols have very, very strict rules by which they live. They have very intense work schedules. Japan has a very odd work culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a term in Japanese that is also in English, but not a phrase in English, but it's an English phrase in Japanese. The salaryman.
Okay.
Zero from Chikara, his gimmick is being a salaryman. Right? Like, he wears the black tie and white shirt and everything. That's like the typical image of a salaryman.
The very professional looking 9 to 5er.
But they're not 9 to 5ers in Japan.
Oh.
In Japan, a salaryman is expected to stay at work until every single one of his seniors has left. You cannot leave before someone's more senior than you. You are expected to stay at work until you fall asleep at your desk. You're, like, expected to not go home for dinner, because after you leave, the expectation is that you go out for drinks with everyone you work with. You go home to change your shirt, change your tie, maybe change your suit, and then come back and do it all again.
That is hell.
Yes. It is literally the the whole thing about being a salaryman is that you are so dedicated to your company that nothing else in your life matters. And then you go home, and then you go out to an izakaya, and you get pissed drunk, and you fall asleep on the train with your tie around your head. It's a miserable culture.
I thought the production obsessed frat boys from the start of the pandemic were bad, but holy shit.
Like, it is the expected career choice for young men. This is the default work culture. It's seen as, like, unprestigious if you don't move into a white-collar office job and spend your entire life at that job. So, it's generally considered a very toxic work culture. Idols have that same kind of work culture. For cute girls.
I don't like this anymore.
But it's something that, you know, to us is weird and, like, uncomfortable. It's just the norm in Japan.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of other issues with idol culture that I don't want to get into, because we're here to talk about Maki Itoh. Maki Itoh started out in an idol group called Link, L-I-N-Q, in their second generation of singers. Now, it's important to note that idol groups, much like Hololive, have different generations.
Much like what?
Hololive, the VTuber company.
Okay.
So, it's a very weird sort of thing where you have, like, because it's less common with VTubers, but it is more common with regular idols. You will age out of being an idol.
I know that part.
And it's not very old that you age out. Like, you got till 26 at most.
I know that one because that was a big issue with Baby Metal.
Mm-hmm.
Because what are their names? Suzuka? I think so. She'd hit that, like, peak top age and was announced as leaving the group when there was a fan revolt of, this is metal, you don't gotta fucking do that.
Right, this is metal, you don't need to replace your idols.
Yeah.
You don't need to toss them out like yesterday's jam.
So she's still in the band.
Good. So anyway, Maki Itoh was in Link for a while. Link, when she was very young, had her do a couple of shows for DDT, specifically at an idol lumberjack match.
That sounds like something DDT would do.
Mm-hmm. Very weird. It got her into wrestling, though. So, she then starts down the path of doing more wrestling shows because she's told she's not a popular idol. And unpopular idols get replaced.
That makes sense.
So she starts wrestling as a way to get more fans. Now, it's a whole weird thing. She gets into wrestling. She starts wrestling for Tokyo Joshi Pro and has basically loses most of her matches. Her gimmick is that she has to be the cutest wrestler and have the most fans. Now, she keeps losing matches as the lowest ranking, youngest member of the Tokyo Joshi Pro roster.
Mm-hmm.
You lose a lot. You gotta earn your stripes. You got a job before you start winning, right?
Yep. That's how it goes.
That's how it goes. A little bit more severe in Japan, but that's how it goes. So it is at that point, Itoh has a match against the newest member of the Tokyo Joshi Pro roster, a wrestler by the name of Mizuki. Mizuki despite being the junior, beats Maki Itoh because Itoh is less experienced with wrestling, and it's kind of funny because it's still DDT.
Yep.
It's important to note that in this time, Itoh develops a persona where she is very rude and crass, and it's hilarious.
She's very American influenced.
Yes, she starts to get over with the fans despite the fact that she keeps losing. And eventually she reaches this point where she loses that match to Mizuki, and she says to Mizuki after the match, wait, you're good at this. I want you on my team. Will you become the one member of the Itoh Respect Army? And she says, I'm forming a new stable, and you're in it. It's called the Itoh Respect Army, a group of 2 people. So that moment alone sold me on her. But it's at this point that things start to go belly up for her idol career, because Link puts her into their junior group. It's a very odd situation. So Link starts a second group. Doesn't matter what they're called, but it is Tokiwo Ikiru. So she's put into what is effectively a musical theater focused group, not a prestigious idol group, and is told, you need to help us sell 1,000 tickets to this event or you're fired. She goes out, she wrestles in the street, she yells at people, she begs, and she sells enough tickets to get them to 1,000 tickets. And they still fucking fire her.
Jackasses.
Because that goal was designed for her to fail, and they didn't care. They didn't want her in the group anymore. So she has to change her entrance music because she can't use the music from a band she was just kicked out of. She can't. So she basically grabs Mizuki and the Itoh Respect Army and turns them into an idol group. They have a CD.
They have a CD.
Mm-hmm.
This is a legit music group?
Yep. The music that we heard at the top of the episode, I know not a lot of people were here, but the music we heard at the top of the episode was actually Maki Itoh's current entrance music. She sings her own entrance music because she's an idol.
Fair enough.
Now, the Itoh Respect Army has its own very detailed, very, very heartbreaking story because, they putter along, they don't do well. Itoh spends a lot of her time trying to one-up Mizuki. Tries to steal pins. At one point, they were set to win a match, and she broke up her own team's pin so she could get the pin.
Oh, no.
It's very funny. So, at a certain point in their careers, Mizuki is selected to be part of a random team's tag team tournament. And Mizuki's partner is none other than Yuka Sakazaki.
I know that name.
Yuka then goes on to become hated by Itoh. And there's a bitter rivalry between the three of them. It's like back and forth, and Itoh loses every single time, partly due to her selfishness, but it results in some incredible matches as Itoh tries harder and harder and harder to get better. She becomes a really proficient wrestler. She does, however, have what I would call the probably silliest looking finisher. It is called she does a Kokeshi headbutt, which is really just falling, falling and landing on. It's a senton with your head.
Yep.
So
does she do it safer than Daniel Bryan?
So much safer. It's a whole lot of back and forth, and Mizuki and Itoh eventually reunite and become friends again after they both admit that they truly respect and love each other, but in like a, straight way. Because it's Japan and God forbid you're gay.
Girls are allowed to be just friends.
Girls are allowed to be just friends, you're right. But yeah, so at this point, Ito's starting to see some success and everything like that, but she has like this undercurrent of really, really high quality storytelling about like her constant failure and need for validation in a very relatable millennial sort of way.
Yeah.
All this time, she's learning English, which is great and fun because she's not just learning like typical English. She has a feature on her Twitter, New Words I've Learned, that she does every once in a while. Her most recent one was back in January on the 28th. I believe it was the 28th, where her new words that she just learned were golden shower. Now, the important part of the charm of Maki Itoh is exactly how crass she is. Because the constant thing she does is flip people off. Her introduction to the AEW world was, hello motherfuckers.
And Cody loved it.
Cody loved it. There's just here's a tweet from her from January 19th with the caption, I'm gonna kick you in the nuts. Rainbow unicorn lollipop. Basically, her style is a mix of comedy wrestling, joshi style idol wrestling, and good storytelling. I do have a couple of recommendations for you to watch to get a good vibe on Itoh-chan. You should start with her match versus Su Yung.
Yes.
That is available for free on YouTube. Let me pull it up.
You showed me that one, and it was very well wrestled. It was very intense, very full of character, and I loved it. I'm glad you set me down for that one.
There's also her promo that she cuts with Thunder Rosa, which also is a very good example of her character work.
Mm-hmm.
I really love that promo. I'm so very excited for Americans to get to see Maki Itoh wrestle because she's one of the funniest wrestlers out there. She's got a lot of heart, a lot of talent, and like I feel like her gimmick would do really well here.
Yeah, it is definitely that very crass nature that especially US audiences love.
It works so well for her, and like I strongly recommend seeking out any of her other stuff. In the promo versus Thunder Rosa, she does a lot of switching between Japanese and English in a way that's very funny. I love her in such a it's such a like purely chaotic character. It's amazing.
People are going to get to see her because of the women's #1 contendership tournament, along with some other rivals of hers. So that could make for interesting stories in those matches. like Yuka Sakazaka, you said is a big rival of hers.
Mm-hmm.
Then I've seen some clips of her with Aja Kong, who's also in the tournament.
Yep, Aja
And
Kong, Yuka Sakazaki. I don't think she's wrestled Emi Sakura before.
I'm sure that would be hilarious, though.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't get Emi Sakura's whole deal. I don't get it. The Freddie Mercury gimmick doesn't work for me.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work for me either, but she's a good wrestler.
Mei Suruga is also very talented, but also like cutesy in a cute way rather than Itoh-chan's cutesy in an aggressive way. It everything that she does works so well.
Mm-hmm.
She's developed such a good character, and she's developed a whole lot of very loyal fans. So the Itoh Respect Army grows.
It's such a good name. I love it.
Despite the fact that the stable only has 2 people.
That's fine. I love it. I probably love it more because of that.
I think that's the point. So that's all I have to say about Itoh-chan for now. We'll see more of her in AEW, which I'm very excited for.
Yeah.
Other than maybe just mentioning that the chant or her catchphrase is Sekai ichi kawaii no wa, which is who's the cutest in the world? And the crowd answers Itoh-chan, and then she leaves.
It's very good. I'm so glad you've clung on to her with such enthusiasm, because I want to see throughout the tournament like how she'll do now.
If she's not eliminated in the first round, which is a very Itoh result.
Yeah, no, from what you tell me, yep.
That's it. She's also been a champion in Tokyo Joshi, so
yeah, she doesn't just lose.
No. I really hope we get to see her headbutt spot.
Yes.
Because that's always a good one. I love it. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about this week?
Actually, just rolling off what you were talking about, you sent me a mini documentary on Maki Itoh before.
Yes.
And the YouTube channel it's on was Joe Shizzle.
Yep.
All one word.
J-O and then Shizzle. If you remember how to spell shizzle from middle school.
Yep. But I've been watching some of their other stuff and kind of like understanding Tokyo Joshi a little bit.
Like there's the 20-minute video on Shoko Nakajima?
Yeah. You know, Lilith Kaiju, I already love her because I saw her last year. I just threw a piece of a clothespin because it wasn't in my head strong enough.
It's worth watching to understand the appeal of Joshi, I think.
Yeah, like me looking at it, it looks like a magical girl anime put into a ring. Which gives me the same feeling as watching like Lucha Libre, where it's superheroes and angels and demons and gods in a ring, or watching like Su Yung or Abaddon or Rosemary, where it's this extra special scenario that's playing out. So that's very cool to me.
Does it also remind you of my live stream on Tuesday, where I played a magical girl?
A little bit.
On twitch.tv/roll20 app. I got paid for that, bruh.
But I think that's all I had to say.
Yeah, I think that's all I have for this week. Do we want to wrap things up?
I think we should wrap things up. You want to do the thing?
Yeah, I'll do the thing for this week.
Okay.
Thank you all very much for watching. It has been a genuine pleasure. It has been a joy. Thank you all very much for coming. I will leave you with one final thing. Sekai ichi no kawaii.
Itoh-chan.
Bye, everyone.
Marking Out with My Girlfriend is a production of Soses Media. Check us out at soses.ca. Music has been provided by Sounds Like an Earful.
If you're joining us, what you just heard was Maki Itoh's entrance music, Brooklyn the Whole, which she sang herself.
About Brooklyn?
Look, Aaron, there's something you need to understand about idols and idol music. It doesn't have to make sense as long as the girl is cute.
Okay, well, that's both my dating history, too, so...